Peace. This is Spiritual Lifting with V. Let me get your soul swole. And today's topic is forgiveness. Now, this is a wonderful topic, I think, because it has many different avenues and routes, and I will just touch on a few. A lot of times in life, we carry major blockages, and we don't know exactly the root or even that they're there. So you can be in this great spiritual happiness. You can wake up happy every day. But there may be something that's looming over you that's keeping you from going over the mark, getting to that final state of constant joy, unconditional love, peace, focus, and clarity. And sometimes we don't know what they are, but every once in a while, we feel a little bit of negativity or a small negative aspect of ourselves peeking out. And we don't know quite where it comes from. Now, this is where forgiveness comes into play. Because throughout our lifetime, we will go through so many things. And we aren't always all in our best form. And this is just facts of life. You take the good and you take the bad, but sometimes we tend to do things, or we weren't the best representative of ourselves. And maybe when we aren't that best representative and we know it at the moment, we just kind of say, well, that's life, I did that, that's what it is, and move on. Not taking into account really how much of an effect that energy may have played in our surrounding environment, in our personal self, and what it is doing to the universe. And we can be in deep gratitude and deep appreciation and have unconditional love. But forgiveness is a part of unconditionally loving ourselves. And we can make these great, fantastic journeys in life where we are reaching new spiritual heights and we are learning new things and we are coming to this energy that is bringing us full fold. But if we truly want to come to that completeness, that wholeness, that true fruitfulness, we have to first forgive ourselves. And this takes self-recognition and acceptance that, again, maybe we weren't the best representatives of ourselves at all times. Now you have to remember, things happen, this is life, and so when the past is the past, and you can't bring it back, we can only move forward to the future, because we're always, each second, each millisecond, we're always stepping into the future. We're always time traveling. That we must remember, those things of the past were small, misunderstood, potentially misguided aspects of ourselves. And what I mean by that is, if you have continued on, you've gotten the blessing by learning the lesson, and you have continued to journey forward, and you're not going back. You found a point where maybe there were continual mistakes. Maybe there were things that were going on that were really taking you down this path that you didn't need to be down. But at some point in time, you came to this realization: I've had enough. This has to stop, and I am going to change it. Because the truth of the matter is, we are the medicine, we are the cure, and only the problems, they are the solutions. And they take us to the place where we need to be. Because without the problems, we can't have the solutions. Without misunderstanding, we can't have the understanding. And without self-unforgiveness, how can we know that we need to forgive ourselves. But when we start there, when we start and we wake and we get into deep gratitude and appreciation and feel our lungs full of air of that first awakened breath, give the thanks and give yourself forgiveness. Give the thanks and give yourself forgiveness. This is a very powerful tool because though we cannot change the past, we can shape and mold our future. Now, a lot of times in this life, we don't even know that we need to forgive ourselves because on a daily basis, second by second, minute by minute, instant by instant, there are so many things that happen that are flashes, and that you don't even take into consideration that maybe that wasn't the best representation of yourself and the best character building aspect, or you striving to be the best version of you that you can be. This only happens when you stop to take reflection upon yourself. And when you stop and you reflect on the day, the minute, the second, the hour, and you look at, is this truly me? Was it some sort of learned behavior? Was it something that I picked up along the way? And we can't necessarily say that it's from something that someone else brought to us, because at the end of the day, we are the ones that make the choices for ourselves. Now, even if you are forced into an environment, you always have a choice. And we have all been victims of this throughout our life. But a lot of times we'll look at things and it is okay and it seems okay because we want to live in the moment and we want to be a part of the crowd and we want to be accepted. But then, is this always quite correct? Because what are you learning? What have you fed yourself then? What is the belief structure that you have placed upon yourself? And now once you have accepted something that maybe won't take you to be the best version of you, you continue it on and you pass it on and you pass it on. And this is not correct. But these are things that when you're walking through life without an understanding of oneself, an understanding of one's environment, and an understanding in general of how to become the best version of you. I know for me that in my life, and this wasn't actually until recently, there were a lot of things that I didn't realize they were blockages, and I was able to clear those blockages. But there were things that I had to forgive myself that I had no idea. I thought they were just me. I thought this was things that I had done. But as I sat and reflected, and I mean, this is like some minor things that would be minor to some people. But to me, I ended up realizing that these things were actually minor, that were lingering. And because they were lingering and there were tiny amounts of them, like if you have a garage, you can fill it up with a bunch of tiny boxes, or you can have a whole bunch of big boxes. And if you have a whole bunch of big boxes, right, it takes up tons of space. But if you have a whole bunch of tiny boxes, these tiny boxes over time take up that same volume of space. And now it takes a little bit more to remove those. So this is the whole thing with tiny blockages in our life, and these tiny things that will have us not knowing and wondering, where is this coming from? Where is this behavior coming from? Where is this energy coming from? Where is this attitude? Because they're small and they're minute and they're things that you can wake up from the next day and just move on, and they're really not majorly life affecting. So you think. So by starting to take an assessment of the smaller things, maybe you're a person that you've handled your major blockages. Like I was a person, I had actually handled my major blockages. And I was still running into some energetic problems, things that maybe I didn't think was a good representation of me, just on the forefront. But I still wasn't getting that energy. I still wasn't feeling uplifted. And I was deep into my spiritual practices. And I couldn't figure it out. But then it started dawning on me. There has to be something more. So I started looking deeper and deeper inside. And I found all of these tiny little things that were deep-rooted and realized, wow, those are there. This actually is a problem. And as small as it was, I turned to the Creator. I did my affirmation, and I was deep with my intent on what I wanted. And I asked for those things to be removed. And once I asked for those things to be removed, because I had recognized what those smaller blockages were that I had no realization of before, they were removed. Because I brought them up, and I brought them from the subconscious to the conscious, and now I'm conscious of those issues. Now I can get rid of them. Now I don't have to backtrack and go down that path because they've come to the forefront. And if I do go to that path, this is only a choice. But why walk downhill when you could go uphill to get to where you want? If you're trying to get to the peak, you're not going to go back down. You want to go up, and you want to remove yourself from the base and take yourself to the peak. You have to float. You have to not go against the grain, but go with the current so you can get to where you need to get to. And I had realized this. And so I had been going along for a long time, not even thinking, just thinking that maybe I was doing things that were common. Maybe I was just doing things that everyone else around me had done. Because there were things that were going on that was just a normalcy was built upon it. But again, this was things that I didn't take assessment of, and I didn't do reflection on, because I thought I had handled all the big blockages. But by looking at those tiny blockages, I was able to begin to remove them. And once they are removed, I don't have to revisit it. You don't have to revisit it. This is a huge part of self-care, self-love, self-forgiveness. Once we start forgiving ourselves for things that were small aspects, part of our journey in life to get us to the point that we are at now, which hopefully for all of you is a point of getting to a higher place in your spirit, a higher place in your heart, a higher place within love. And you're able to say, I love myself, I forgive myself. Because once you're able to do that, then you can love the ones around you. You can forgive the ones around you. Because truly, unless you're just have this evil intent, this negative intent about yourself, no one is doing things purposefully. They may not want to admit they're wrong. They may not want to admit what they are doing or have done to others was not okay. But this stuff comes out of not wanting to admit the fault, because there is something that is stopping and blocking this person or people from forgiving themselves. If you can't forgive yourself, how can you forgive another? If you can't love yourself, how can you love another? If you can't be in joy every day, and it is a beautiful, high energy day, is wonderful. You're awake, and if you're watching this, the Creator is giving you something beautifully fantastic, and you got to smile. Man, you feel the energy. It's what I'm telling you. Forgive yourself. Clear the blockages. Because we are always children. You can be an adult, but we are always the Creator's children, no matter if you're 110 years old. The Father has created us, so we are His children. So it's always a learning experience. And if you have children, it's just as everything to a child is always new. Even if they're 20 years old and you're a parent, there's things that you've seen that they have no idea even existed. They have never seen in their life. And you could be 60 years old and your child could be 40, and guess what? There's still things that you've seen that they have never seen, because that comes through the experience. So we're always constantly learning. We're always going to have the lesson, because we're not even going to call it mistakes. There really are no mistakes. There's just lessons, and there's just learning, and there's just understanding. These are the life building blocks. But the more of that we have, we can gain the knowledge and the wisdom to get to the understanding. Sometimes we have to go off path. Sometimes we have to stumble. Sometimes we have to not make the best decision that would make us the best version of us, that would take us exactly to where we need to be. But I feel as if you begin the day and really start assessing your life over time, and again realizing that any position that you might have been in that maybe you didn't realize was you being the best version of you, and you take time to come into a full acceptance and be in a truthful state and see these things for what they are, which are just lessons, because these things are always going to be taught. If you're introduced to anything through life, you didn't just go out. It doesn't even matter if it's the way you dress. It doesn't matter if it's the way you wear your hair. It doesn't matter if it's even the philosophies or the things you think. These things were introduced to you. These things were introduced to you. We have a purity that is born in us, a purity already to our spirit. And even if you're reincarnated, you know things, okay? Or even if you were born with knowing, but you still have to go through it in order to have the experience. This is just facts. We strive for perfection. No one is perfect. So knowing these things, knowing these lessons, knowing and having and gaining this understanding that I'm just trying to speak on today will allow you, and just try what I'm saying. Do the deep reflection. And when you see it, you're going to understand that at the end of the day, no one's choices are that much different from the other person. No one does everything 100% right. But if you can realize those things that maybe you have done in your time and in your life, and give yourself forgiveness for those mistakes, because I have, you will start to clear a lot of blockages. And again, you could have been this wonderful person. You could have had a wonderful, loving family. You could have the best job. You could have tried to do everything as right as possible. Trust me, you still have some blockages, because everyone has things that they only know about right up in here. But don't be ashamed of them. Realize, okay, it was a lesson. It was a fraction in time. And that was the journey that I had to go through to get to where I need to be, which is here today, being the best version of me. I forgive myself. That way, you can forgive others, and others can forgive you. They always talk about asking the Creator for forgiveness. And this is true, because the Creator is supposed to be embodied within us. And if you and the Creator are one, then ask yourself for forgiveness, so that way you can be forgiven. And set your intent deeply for that forgiveness. And once you're able to forgive yourself, others are able to forgive you. And if they choose not to forgive you, maybe they need to stop and forgive themselves. Because again, this is all a part of unconditional love. This is all a part of self-care. And this is all a part of loving oneself. There's no sense in dwelling on the past because you can't bring it back. You can look at it, learn the lesson, gain an understanding of why, what happened, what put you in that position. And I love it, but my grandmother was so correct. Stop it and then change it. Stop it and then change it. And once you make that true motion to change and do the self-forgiving and begin to forgive others and realize that we all make choices in this life, and those are moments in time, small fractional aspects of who we are, but not who we are. So it can become who you were. And you can be who you truly are. Listen, folks. Thank you for listening today and tuning in to me. It's such a beautiful day. Fill your heart full of love and beauty. And begin to forgive yourself. And I think once you do that, your energy level will raise. Once we begin to not dwell and live on anything that may have been seen as a past fault or lesson that we had to learn, and see ourselves for truly who we are, which are fantastically beautiful children of the universe and the Creator. And then don't go backwards, go forwards and become that best version of you and live that of the best version of you every day. Be in thanks, be in deep appreciation, and be in deep gratitude. Because if you have recognized that you do need to forgive yourself and that you do have blockages that you need to clear, and you clear those blockages, and you continue to forgive yourself, and you continue to do the self-reflecting, and you continue to motivate yourself to become this positive being of light. And it starts with the Creator, and being in this deep gratitude to the Creator for that opportunity to have these realizations. Because I can't imagine what it would be like to go through life and never realize any of these things, or never realize that you need to do self-care, or never realize that you need to forgive yourself, or never realize that you need to forgive the others around you so you can get yourself to become the best version of you and get yourself to the highest state possible so you can give the unconditional love, so that way you can receive unconditional love. I love all of you. I love all of you. And if this is your first time viewing my channel, I just want to tell you, thank you for listening. Please, I have many other talks. Feel free to go through and check those out. If you have liked today's topic, forgiveness, which there are many directions and many avenues that this could have went, but I did share a little bit of personal how I realized I had to forgive myself and some steps that I took, and it took me a long time. And it really wasn't until recently how I figured out how to clear those blockages. So I went through many years of mistakes and many years of not forgiving. I didn't even know that certain things were an issue or problem because they really weren't seen to be as major things to me. And sometimes when we move through life and we're active and it's not stopping us from working or being in a positive manner or waking up happy every day, we just don't realize it until we have that time in that mode to stop and reflect. Try it. Try taking an assessment of things and then give yourself forgiveness, and then just don't live in the past. Don't keep, it happened. Whatever happened, happened. It doesn't need to continue to roll and keep being brought up. Because if you do that, you're only keeping those things in the forefront, in the present. And now all you've done is recognized your blockages, but now you're making them bigger blockages because they're more prevalent, because they're just there. Let them go. Take some self-care, give some self-forgiveness. And if anyone would like me to touch on any other different aspects or do a part 2 to forgiveness, drop a comment. I love correspondence. If you've enjoyed the video, drop a comment. And I love correspondence. And hey, just remember, the children are the future and we are the past. But by working together, we can all be the future. Have love for yourself. Have an unconditional love for yourself. Clear out the blockages. Get rid of all the big boxes and the tiny boxes that fill that storage space, which is our mind and our brain. And continue to do it every day. Move forward in a positive manner, in a loving direction. Thank you all for listening today. This has been Spiritual Lifting with V. Let me get your soul swole. Peace.